Welcome back to this series about world religions. We are exploring religions from a historical lens and celebrating the uniquenesses we find in each. This video is going to look at the origins and beliefs of Islam. It is also a good reminder at how we all look at different religions through different lenses. Depending on where you're from and your local geography, this may shape the lens you have of Muslims. As an American, the narrative that has been told about Islam through popular media has unconsciously embedded various stereotypes that I actively dismantle to really understand what they believe in. And my hope is that you can do the same. Islam emerged in the Arabian Peninsula. It began with Muhammad, who was born in Mecca, Saudi Arabia, around 570 CE. He worked first as a shepherd and then as a merchant. Mecca was this crossroads of trade, and within the city was the Kaaba, where people worshipped many different gods from different religions. He had a problem with this and believed that people had forgotten the message of the prophet Abraham to worship one God. Yes, the same Abraham we talked about in Judaism. Now, Muhammad enjoyed to go up into the mountains, which can be quite gorgeous if you look up pictures, and he went there to pray. On one of those occasions, in the year 610, Common Era, he is said to have received a revelation from God through the angel Gabriel. He continued to receive these messages from God throughout his life, and he began to preach about them to others about what he has learned. His main message is that there was no other God but Allah, which is merely the Arabic word for God, and that people should lead their lives in a way that was pleasing to Allah. However, people weren't all a fan of Muhammad's preaching about this one God, and he was kicked out of Mecca, where him and his followers went to the city of Medina. In 630, they returned to Mecca, destroyed the false gods in the Kaaba, and repurposed it as a holy site within Islam. The main beliefs of Islam can be summarized through the 5 pillars. Profession of faith, this idea of monotheism, there is no God but God, and that Muhammad was his messenger. In fact, visual representations of Muhammad were strictly prohibited to prevent them from kind of engaging in idol worship or venerating him as if he were God. The second pillar is prayer towards Mecca 5 times a day. The third is almsgiving, or giving money to support widows and orphans and provide justice and care. The fourth pillar being fasting during the month of Ramadan, which is from sun up until sundown. And also then finally 5, the Hajj to Mecca, which is this journey they should do once during their lifetime if they are able. The Quran is the holy scripture of Islam. Many Muslims try to learn to read the Quran in its original language, being Arabic, since much of it is poetic. Translating a poem to another language loses some of that beauty and the rhythm. Think of translating something like by Walt Whitman, "Oh Captain, my Captain," where it rhymes like every other line. If you translate to another language, it loses some of its power. There is also the Hadith, which are the sayings of Muhammad. Together, the ulama, or the religious scholars, interpreted the Quran alongside of the Hadith and the Sunnah, all being their holy books. Other important beliefs include the idea of the Ummah, or the body of believers, that is more important than any ethnicity or tribe. Interestingly enough, both Jews and Christians were viewed favorably by Muslims as people of the book. Within the Islamic empires, they could continue to follow their own religions and have legal status within those empires due to their shared roots going all the way back to Abraham. In fact, Jesus is loved by Muslims just as he is loved by Christians. However, Muslims hold firm that Jesus was not God's son, but only one of his important messengers, handpicked by God to guide a particular nation back to pure monotheism. The tricky part of Islam is that Muhammad was both the spiritual leader and the political leader. And by the time of his death, Islam had spread and united these different tribes together through conquest. There wasn't really a clear succession plan, and that's where we have different Muslims disagree about this. The 2 major branches or sects of Islam are Sunni and Shia. Sunnis contend that the next leader or caliph should come from the community, the Ummah, and he should be chosen based on his character. Shias contend, on the other hand, that the next leader should come from the bloodline of Muhammad. Today, most Muslims are Sunni, while Shias reside mostly in modern-day Iran. Today, Muslims worship in a mosque and are often led by an imam, who is a prayer leader and teacher. Islamic artists use geometric shapes and patterns on their walls, in their floors, in their holy books, and other decorative items. Islamic mosques are known for their incredibly complex mosaic work. Islam spread pretty quickly throughout the Arabian Peninsula. Later in the Umayyad dynasty, it expanded through the Middle East, in all of northern Africa, and even into Spain. But why did it spread so quickly? I'd say we can really sum it up in 3 reasons. 1, they encouraged converts as they are a universal religion, and it was attractive to people. It actually gave more rights to women and was considered them equals. It wasn't until later when one of the other caliphs changed directions a bit about women's rights. Number 2, many Muslims were also merchants, so they were moving around and then sharing their beliefs. And 3, some converted to avoid the jizya tax. Since Islam was monotheistic and worshipped what they seemed as the same God, some Christians and Jews didn't feel like it was a huge jump to just convert to Islam. Islam also spread through Sufi missionaries into Anatolia, Africa, Asia. It diffused along the trade routes in the Indian Ocean and Trans-Sahara. States like Ghana and Mali and Songhai embraced Islam. Even Mansa Musa was key as he took the Hajj from Timbuktu all the way to Mecca, and then later made Timbuktu a center of Islamic learning in Africa. There are many misconceptions about Islam, and oftentimes it's a lot of, well, I heard, without doing any research personally, or even better, having a conversation with someone who is Muslim. Let's do more of that and less believing of what we heard. Additionally, throughout history, many people have sought after power and used religion as a tool to do that. This has occurred in practically all religions. So thanks for tuning in, and I hope you find this information helpful. Give us a like, subscribe below, and check out the other videos in this series. We hope you have found it helpful.